This has been an incredibly embarrassing performance. Just embarrassing. I mean, it's a laughingstock. This bill is a joke. The negotiations were a joke.
Clearly, Johnson's not up to the task, and he's got to go, right? He's got to go. Should Johnson be Speaker of the House?
Well, that's how some Republicans are talking about Mike Johnson ahead of next week's Speaker election. And joining us now is a Democrat, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, Democrat from Michigan, who always keeps it real here on the show.
There we go.
Congresswoman, it is good to see you. Now, let's just set the record, let's set the tone for a moment. The streets are saying that Democrats are not going to help Speaker Johnson if he becomes embattled in his quest to retain his speakership. Is that true?
That is true. Hakeem has made that very clear. And you saw that as we voted on the budget at the end of the year, we stayed united. There were a lot of things in there that bothered us. There were things that I wanted. But if we were going to negotiate, we needed to negotiate with one voice. Hakeem communicated with us directly, regularly. We stayed together. And trust me, we will do the same thing on the House floor when the vote for Speaker comes up.
It's funny. I was listening to Josh Hawley, sort of talking about the budget deal. And then, of course, Bannon screaming about, Speaker Johnson needs to be fired. We don't want him. Should he be the Speaker? Everybody in the room saying no. Well, who the hell are you going to put up? Can I have a name, please? Who's your candidate that's going to go run that gauntlet and get those votes that you need? Because the Democrats should absolutely just sit there and go, we got our guy. We good. Give us another 6 votes and he's the Speaker, right? That's how that works. So, when you watch this unfold, what do you see coming down the train track in terms of what the House is going to look like going into this vote and when this vote is taken, and how does the other chamber react to that? Do they just kind of sit back and go, all right, well, we'll just kind of wait till this plays out? What do you see the mood on the Hill being with respect to this chaos when there is no alternative that's being put forward?
So I hear a lot of things. Actually, yesterday, we have a thread of women Democrats, and I focused on this because I have a speech next Saturday on the 4th, the day after, and I suddenly realized I'm not going to be able to. I said to anybody, we're not going to be able to go home next weekend. Remember, it was 4 days before we got Kevin McCarthy, 15 votes. And nobody really knows what's going to happen. We know Massey has said he will not vote for him. There are 2, 3, 4 other Republicans who have expressed their doubts or not automatic. I talked to some Republicans yesterday. I heard you're reporting that Trump is unhappy with him. Others are hearing he may come out for him. So, we're dealing in what we often deal with, everybody speculating and nobody knowing. I do hear the name Jim Jordan as a potential alternative. So I don't know what's going to happen. I can tell you, I do know what's going to happen, though, is that Democrats are going to be united. We are not going to bail him out this time. But this is only an indicator. If Republicans and those that are going to be part of this cabinet, who's ever running it, we seem to have several different ones, not only President-to-be Trump, but Musk, Bannon, who's ever. This is what every tight vote is going to be like. And President Trump has picked several members of the House to be in cabinet positions. Those are ones that are likely to be confirmed. That's going to leave the House down again for several months. These votes are down to 1 or 2 tight votes. So, we're going to have to figure out how to work, because I don't think the American people sent any of us back to Washington for total dysfunction. It may be what we see for 2 years, but I'm somehow praying it isn't.
Yeah, I actually want to pick up where you left off, Congresswoman, because I think sometimes when we talk about these speaker fights, it can sound bureaucratic or technocratic or something that only people in Washington or Capitol Hill care about. But it gets to what you were driving at, right? Which is People did vote because they want to see some type of change. The change they want to see is policy that is actually delivered that makes their lives better. That makes things more complicated for Republicans and Democrats alike if Republicans can't get their speakership together, right? If they can't get their ducks in a row. So when you talk to your constituents, when you're in Michigan, and people are like, well, why should I care about all of this? How do you drive it home for folks that their dysfunction becomes America's dysfunction?
Because I do get that question. And I say to them, because look at what happened when Kevin McCarthy was Speaker. Now, they have changed the rules, so it takes a little bit of a larger vote to vacate the chair for Speaker. But 15 votes later, Kevin McCarthy became Speaker. And for 8 months, we had total dysfunction. Matt Gaetz was one of the House members, a number of others, that could stop anything from happening. Here's the reality. We have a lot of challenging issues ahead of us. Voters were sending us that message. They weren't happy with the status quo. And I'm just not one of those Democrats that says, okay, let it be total dysfunction for 2 years and then they'll elect us back. If we have the dysfunction that we saw on what happened with the budget, you didn't know who was in control on the Republican side. Was it to beat President Trump? Was it President Musk? Now, today we see Steve Bannon attacking Mike Johnson. By the way, I just don't think that's appropriate. I think the president is the one that should be talking about this and telling the Republicans what he wants or doesn't. That I can tell you something you are going to see in the Democratic caucus is unity. We know we have disagreements. We come at things from different perspectives, but we're talking to each other. And we know that our strength is our unity. Republicans don't.
Congresswoman, we will be watching what happens with this speaker vote, this speaker fight, if you will. I'm with the chairman here. Who else want the job other than Mike Johnson? So maybe they don't want him to have it, but don't nobody else really want it and can get it. Because being speaker of the Republican conference is difficult.
So, I think Jim Jordan might want it.
Well, and you said that, I was like,
give it to him the last time, so I don't know.
No, so don't say who wants it. There are some that want it, but can
you're
they
right. Can they get it? Can they get it is the question.
He can't get it.
But while all of this is happening, you've still got folks out there talking about what Democrats need to do. And you've got the founder of the Progressive Policy Institute writing this, saying Trump's antics and misrule will no doubt create tactical openings for Democrats to take offensive, but their strategic challenge now is to draw up a new governing blueprint that centers on America's non-college majority. Democrats must show how they can get those voters feel, how those voters feel and what matters to them, and offer concrete remedies to problems. I think people are, this is the holidays. We're just coming out of, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all happening right now, going into the new year. Folks may not be paying very close attention to the chaos on Capitol Hill. They just say it's chaos, and they say it's the Republicans, but maybe it's the Democrats too. To Alicia's point earlier, how do you distinguish yourselves, but also continue to drive home that you all are actually have a plan for the American people? Even though you are not in the majority, you are still a part of the governing that is happening. And Americans, according to the Progressive Policy Institute founder, they want to see some results.
So, Simone, I think that's a very good question. And as you know, I'm someone that's been saying this for a long time. I warned everybody I was the bad Democrat in 2016 when I said Donald Trump's going to win because he's communicating with those voters and we aren't. And we did a terrible job of doing it. This time, because everybody was yelling at me about not being too negative, I did say nobody had won Michigan yet, and it wasn't. But I go to the grocery store. People know when I'm going to be in the grocery store. They now come to see me at the grocery store. They are talking about what the price of eggs is. I said this to you in September and October. We have to show working men and women that we understand what they're worried about. We have to talk in just words that they understand and show what we're doing to deliver for them. Joe Biden was a great president for working men and women in the unions, but they didn't see what he was doing. We didn't translate what the bipartisan infrastructure bill did, how it created jobs, how it made sure that workers were making more money. We've got to talk about and show how we want to make sure we're supporting more skilled trades, investing in that. And by the way, we need to be training our engineers. You know, when you see Musk talk about we have brighter people overseas, we need to be investing here at home in ensuring that we are educating young engineers to be our future. But we gotta meet them where they are. You know me, one of my rules is I want to be in a union hall every weekend or in a meeting with union workers and veterans. And, you know, I every weekend want to meet with them. And you talk to them. You listen. You know, something that's really important to understand what matters to them is to listen. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Understand what their fears are. Understand what their concerns are, and then go tell them how you're going to try to help them. And they're worried about a lot of stuff. They can't afford their houses. They're worried about educating their kids. Can they afford to go to college? I mean, a college education today is outrageous. And not everybody.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you are absolutely correct. There are a lot of things on the docket that people are concerned about, and you know what? We're gonna have to have you come back because we need to finish this conversation. Again, there's more to discuss. Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.